Hola amigos, bienvenidos. Hey friends, welcome back to the Language Tutor Spanish podcast. Glad you're hanging out with me on this episode when we're talking about imperfect subjunctive. Got a really good practice for you today. Not very long, but it's a pretty good little practice. We're going to practice different elements that we learned on the YouTube channel. You know, before we get into that though, I wanted to mention something. I'm always trying to encourage you to shoot me an email, tell me how you're doing. Sometimes I say, send me a voice message, let me know how you're doing, introduce yourself, things like that. Here's one little issue I'm facing. If you use Anchor to record your voice message to send me, Anchor wants you to set up an account with them, and that's cool. Anchor is a great platform. That's who we use to launch our podcast. But here's the only thing. If you send me a voice message through Anchor, it doesn't really give me a return address, email address, or anything like that. So I'm not able to really respond to you. Whereas if you just email it to dannyevans3371@gmail.com, well, I can see your email address and I'm able to respond to you. But if you come through Anchor, I'm really only going to get that message, and that's cool. If you just want to send it, love to hear from you. That's great. But if you ask me a question and want me to respond, you might want to shoot me an email just to say, hey, I sent you a voice message and here's how you can respond. I had a couple of questions about Costa Rica coming in the other day, and not sure how to respond because I don't have an email address to respond. So if that was you, shoot me an email really fast and let me know that it was you, okay? All right, let's get on with our practice for today. Now, I want to start out by just kind of quizzing you on a couple of general grammar questions that involve the imperfect subjunctive. First of all, how do we do the imperfect subjunctive? I want to ask you this key question. How do we get the root for the verb for the imperfect subjunctive? I hope you said it is the third person plural preterite. All those P words right in order. Third person plural preterite. There we go. That's how we get our root word, our starting point for the imperfect subjunctive. Now, in the third person plural preterite, what do I take off of that verb to form the imperfect subjunctive? And hopefully you said the ron, R-O-N, at the end of the verb. All right, now, once I remove the ron off of that verb, I put an ending on it. But hey, guess what? There are two sets of endings. So really quick, I want to just go over those endings with you really quick. Let's start with the first ones that we learned on the episode. What is the yo ending for the imperfect subjunctive? And that should be ra. And the tu form. And that is ras, R-A-S. And what is the el, ella, usted form? And that is ra. What about the nosotros form? And that is ramos, R-A-M-O-S. And the vosotros form is? And that is rais. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes form is? And hopefully you said ran. All right, now let's do the other set of endings that we learned. What is the yo form? And hopefully you said se. And what is the tu form? Hopefully you said ses. And the el, ella, usted form. That is also se. And the nosotros form. Semos. And the vosotros form. Seis. And the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Sen. All right. Now what I want to do with you is practice forming the subjunctive verbs for this tense. And I really just want to start by practicing the yo forms. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to name a verb in Spanish, okay? Then I want you to come up with the yo form of the imperfect subjunctive. I feel like if you can get that one down, you can get the other ones down. So the first verb is hablar. Okay, and hopefully you said hablara. Hablara. Now, what is the other form with the other set of endings? And hopefully you said hablase. All right, now the verb to do or to make, hacer. Hopefully you said hiciera and the other form. And that would be hiciese. All right, the verb comer, to eat, comer. Hopefully you said comiera and the other form. All right, and that would be comiese. The verb to work, trabajar. And that should be trabajara and the other form. And that would be trabajese. The verb to write, escribir. Hopefully you said escribiera and the other form. And that is escribiese. The verb to walk, caminar. And you should have said caminara and the other form. And that is caminese. The verb to drink, beber. And hopefully you said bebiera and the other form is. And that would be bebiese. All right, the verb to live, vivir. And that is viviera, and the other form is. And that is viviese. And the last one is the verb to learn, which is aprender. And hopefully you said aprendiera and the other form. And hopefully you said aprendiese. All right, and that wraps up that practice. Let's move into our last practice of this episode. And for this one, I just simply want to give you 5 sentences that I want you to translate into Spanish using the imperfect subjunctive. Okay, and what I want to have you do, I'm going to tell you the sentence in English. I'll read it twice. Give you time to think about it and translate it using the first set of endings, and then we'll go over that, and then I'll have you translate it with the second set of endings, okay? So the first sentence is, she wanted us to come to her house. She wanted us to come to her house. All right, and you should have said, quería que viniéramos a su casa. Quería que viniéramos a su casa. All right, now translate it with the other set of endings. And that should be, quería que viniésemos a su casa. Just change that viniéramos to viniésemos. All right, the next sentence is, it's good that they finished the project. It's good that they finished the project. Use the verb terminar for finished and the noun el proyecto for the project. So it's good that they finished the project. And you should have said, es bueno que terminaran el proyecto. Es bueno que terminaran el proyecto. Now change it to the other form. And hopefully you said, es bueno que terminasen el proyecto. Next sentence is, I wish I were going to the party. Use ojalá here. I wish I were going to the party. And hopefully you said, ojalá que fuera a la fiesta. Ojalá que fuera a la fiesta. Now change that sentence to the other form. And you should have said, ojalá que fuese a la fiesta. All right, the next one. If I were president, el presidente, I would lower taxes. Now, we all hope that's true. But anyway, lower, think of the verb bajar, to go down, like to go down the slopes or whatever. Bajar is the verb, so use that. And taxes are los impuestos. So if I were president, I would lower taxes. And you should have said, si fuera el presidente, bajaría los impuestos. Si fuera el presidente, bajaría los impuestos. Now change it to the other form. And hopefully you said, si fuese el presidente, bajaría los impuestos. One more sentence. This one is, she would like more presents on her birthday. Wouldn't we all? She would like more presents on her birthday. And remember, presents are regalos and birthday is cumpleaños. Okay, translate that one. And hopefully you said, quisiera más regalos en su cumpleaños. Quisiera más regalos en su cumpleaños. Now change it to the other form. And you should have said, quisiese más regalos en su cumpleaños. And my friends, that wraps up this episode of the podcast and our practice for this episode. Hope you guys are doing well with the imperfect subjunctive. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me an email for questions or send me a voicemail, whatever. You can send it to DannyEvans3371@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, hearing some great comments from everybody. In the meantime, I wish for you paz y bendiciones. Peace and blessings for you and all of yours. Have a great one. I'll see you next time on the Language Tutor Spanish podcast. Hasta pronto.